Hello and welcome to Monday's Granada Reports.
Yeah, good evening. Here's what's coming up on the programme tonight.
2 innocent lives, 2 beautiful souls. The parents of BB King and Elsie Stancombe talk of their kind and caring daughters and of the summer's day they took them to a dance class in Southport from which they never returned.
We just dropped her off to dance and make bracelets, that's all we did. And there's lots gone over and said, oh, we should never have sent her. But she wanted to go so much.
The North West MPs in hot water at Westminster after unwise words on WhatsApp. Are Andrew Gwynn and Oliver Ryan's political careers now over?
A clean sweep of silverware. As we preview the Super League season, it's time we had a word from Wigan Warriors, who won everything going last year.
And you found that special thing, you're flying without wings.
The remarkable singing story of Martin, the non-verbal man who found his voice in the recording studio with Irish legends Foster and Allen.
And in the weather, do you want the good news or the bad news? Well, the good news is that over the next few days, the northwest of England and the Isle of Man come off better than many other parts of the country. But the bad news, it's going to stay cold. All the details coming up.
So first tonight, they have been through what every parent dreads, dropping their child off to have fun and make friends at a place they had every right to feel safe, only to never see them alive again.
Well, tonight, the parents of Elsie Stancombe and BB King tell us how they did just that in Southport last summer. Both girls were murdered along with Alice De Silva Aguirre in the stabbings at the Taylor Swift-themed dance class.
In heartbreaking interviews with ITV's Good Morning Britain, they tell of their guilt, how they miss their girls and how they want them to be remembered.
Well, BB's parents, as you'll see, chose to speak anonymously, and Emma Sweeney has our top story.
I feel like a lioness and I've got to protect my child, and I've got to make sure that people knew that she isn't defined by this.
And we've always said from the start that we won't let evil win this. You know, our town, our country has shown us nothing but support, compassion and love.
We know how cruelly their lives were stolen, but as their parents search for light in the darkness, this is how they want their little girls to be remembered. Elsie Stancombe was just 7 years old. Her parents say she was creative and lively and full of love.
Her nature was so pure. And you know what, from day one, all I've ever said is Elsie didn't know bad.
Elsie was like the glue of the family. She really was, and she was just, yeah, special.
6-year-old BB King was also adored by her family. They say she was beautiful, funny, crazy. She was going to move mountains.
I feel her around me all the time. She's with me in every way. She was my mini-me.
Yeah, she was. She was so affectionate. She just loved hugging, and she was just so, you know, every morning she'd come into me and just like, morning, Daddy, and she'd get in bed and we'd have a hug, and it was just lovely.
The girls didn't know each other, but they both loved to sing and dance, and both had been looking forward to attending the Taylor Swift-themed dance class last July.
We just dropped her off to dance and make bracelets, that's all we did. It was something nice for her to do for a couple of hours, you know, in the first week of the school holidays. God, I'd swap with Elsie any day.
In the days and weeks that followed, thousands reached out to pay their respects. The girls' families say they felt the whole country was grieving along with them.
Then you're getting letters from all over the country and stuff, and people sharing their own stories with you and reaching out to you and stuff. You know, some of the messages on the letters, we did read a lot of them, didn't we?
Yeah, we didn't feel alone.
BB's remains were laid out in a bereavement suite at Alder Hey Children's Hospital. Her family visited her daily on the lead up to her funeral.
It's not what any other parent would ever want to go through, but we saw her and we were with her, and she was beautiful. she was at peace. She just looked like she was asleep. We read Jack and the Beanstalk.
Yeah.
With all the accents.
Yeah. Yeah. She was getting involved in.
She did, yeah.
The lives of these bereaved families will never be the same again. Both are equally determined their children will have a legacy.
That's the priority.
Always, yeah.
Lee more BB.
That's
what we say.
Yeah.
And it was quite early on. We started a charity called Elsie's Story. So many times where we've said we will never feel true happiness again, ever. We might just feel a little bit of something when we make another child smile for Elsie. It's given us purpose. It can't be in vain. I won't allow it.
Well, Emma is with us now. Emma, truly heartbreaking testimonies from BB and Elsie's parents. Elsie's parents were also asked about the upcoming public inquiry. What did they have to say?
Yeah, that's right. I think they welcomed the inquiry. Jenny Stankham said that it will help to hold people to account for some of the decisions they've made. She said that children needed to be protected, they needed to be safer. And, you know, there was a really heartbreaking moment in the interview where David Stankham was asked how he felt over what had happened that day. And he said he felt anger, but he also felt guilt. But then at the same time, the parents said their little girl had every right to be there that day. They said the inquiry needs to scrutinise the PREVENT scheme, that's the anti-terror scheme, which failed to stop Axel Rudakabana in his tracks, and they are hopeful that change will come off the back of the inquiry. Now, BB King's family said that they're also hopeful that questions will be answered, but they said those in power, they need to listen and to hear what's being said.
And Emma, BB's parents chose to speak anonymously, didn't we, as we saw there, but they wanted to do that interview, didn't they, because they wanted some kind of control about how their little girls remembered.
Yeah, that's right. Now, this comes back to the fact that when Axel Rudakabana pleaded guilty, the judge's sentencing remarks were televised. It's quite a new thing, this, and it only happens in some high-profile cases, but those sentencing remarks, they had some really distressing details for those families, and BB's family said that whilst they understand those details needed to be heard in court, they didn't understand why they needed to be televised. Instead, they want the world to know what their little girl was like as they remembered her. So you heard in the piece there, she was described as beautiful, crazy, funny. She loved to perform. She loved musicals. Her family said that she was mighty and strong, and at the same time, she was kind. Elsie's family want her to be remembered as a child who was fearless. They said that she had a natural flair for design. She was really creative. She was given a sewing kit one Christmas, and at the age of 7 was making her own clothes. And, you know, her mum said that she thought maybe one day she'd grow up and go to London to carry out a career in fashion design. This is how those families want the world to remember their little girls.
OK, desperately sad stuff. OK, Emma, thank you.
Well, next to the row over offensive online messages, that's causing a huge headache for the government.
Yeah, it's emerged in the last few hours that the Labour MP for Burnley, Oliver Ryan, has been suspended by the party after posting, in his own words, unacceptable and deeply disappointing comments in a WhatsApp group.
Well, it follows the suspension and sacking of the Gorton and Denton MP Andrew Gwynn from his job as Health Minister for his remarks in the same group.
The government says Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer is determined to uphold high standards of conduct in public office. Our political correspondent, Leisha Manali, is in Westminster for us. And Leisha, this looks really bad, doesn't it? Just remind us what sort of comments we're talking about, which have got these MPs in such hot water.
Yes, this WhatsApp group has made for some pretty grim reading over the last couple of days, not just for offended voters, but for the government too. Because at a time when they're trying to talk up the difference between the Labour Party and the scandal-ridden days of the Conservatives, having 2 North West MPs in the headlines for making comments like these is far from helpful. Now, the WhatsApp group was created by the Greater Manchester MP Andrew Gwynn, and leaked screenshots show him sharing a sexist joke about the Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner. Another message includes includes an anti-Semitic trope, and there's a mock letter to an elderly voter hoping she will have croaked it before the local elections. These are comments he now says were badly misjudged and he deeply regrets making. But he made them to another MP, the member for Burnley, Oliver Ryan, who was added to the group back when he worked for Andrew Gwynn. In a statement, Mr Ryan has said that he wishes he had called out the language used at the time and apologised for his own contributions. It's all very messy and a difficult start to the working week for North West MPs heading down here to Westminster. Well, Oliver Ryan was seen as something of a rising star in the party. Mr Gwynn also a very familiar face. He's been here since 2005 and before that was elected as the youngest ever local councillor. It's a fall from grace that Labour is struggling to grapple with.
What's happened with this WhatsApp group has been quite a shock to those of us who've known Andrew. I think he's apologised profusely. He's been sacked immediately by a Prime Minister who's determined to uphold standards in public life, and he's been suspended from the Labour Party. I don't know, I don't remember there being quick action when the Conservatives had scandals in their time in office.
And Leisha, what could happen to these two MPs now? Are their political careers both effectively finished?
Well, my sense is that Andrew Gwynn won't be back in the Labour Party anytime soon. The speed at which they withdrew the whip and sacked him from his ministerial job over the weekend suggests the party is keen to make an example. And for now, he's effectively out of their hands. He'll sit as an independent MP until the next election, unless he resigns or disciplinary processes play out in such a way as to trigger a by-election. As for Oliver Ryan, I think his fate is a little less clear. I understand he met with the Chief Whip this afternoon and was suspended from the party. It might be that his relative youth and the fact that he wasn't an MP at the time means he's eventually able to work his way back in. But whatever happens next, politicians have had a clear lesson this week. There is perhaps no such thing as a truly private chat.
Indeed. Thanks so much. Lisa McNally in Westminster.
Let's take a look at some more of the day's news now. And councillors in Halton are considering increasing toll charges on the Mersey Gateway. If passed by the council, it would mean a 20% increase, with the new charges kicking in on the 1st of April.
A maternity unit in Cumbria has reopened today, almost a year since its closure sparked an outcry from parents. Morecambe Bay NHS Trust said it was forced to shut the Helm Chase site in Kendal last April because of a shortage of midwives. The team is now being bolstered to more than 20 members of staff. Mum, Jane Martin, ended up giving birth in a car park last year because she couldn't get to Lancaster in time.
I was very lucky that I had a natural, normal birth and no complications. My first child had got stuck, so if I'd been in that situation, that would have been, I don't know what would have happened. It doesn't bear thinking about.
Well, next tonight, to the charity that's been helping people with HIV since the dark days of the TV adverts about AIDS in the 80s and 90s.
Yes, Sahia is the oldest LGBTQ+ and HIV charity in Liverpool, and they're now in their 40th year.
They've put on an exhibition at the Museum of Liverpool, highlighting Sahia's work in the community.
And as HIV testing week gets underway, our correspondent Mel Barham went to have a look and meet Paul, a man who feared the worst when he was diagnosed.
There is now a danger that has become a threat to us all. It is a deadly disease and there is no known cure.
It was the campaign that spread fear into a generation. Almost 4 decades on, the message is very different, but the need to raise awareness is still as important.
It was completely devastating. In my head, it was still a death sentence. And that's the first thing I thought about was, that's it, my time's up.
Paul was diagnosed HIV positive 17 years ago at the age of 50, but he got help from Sahia, Liverpool's oldest HIV charity that provides support and counselling for anyone, irrespective of sexuality or age.
It saved my life, that's what I'd say. I had this picture in my head of a group of men all sat round and crying and discussing who's on what tablets and who isn't. Eventually I did go, which I was so glad about because it completely changed my life.
This year the charity marks its 40th year and an exhibition at the Museum of Liverpool is highlighting its work.
So this is a logbook that was used by volunteers to man that helpline. It really demonstrates the absolute trauma that people were going through at the time. I think it's just really important to reflect on those times and see how bad it was, but also how things have changed as well. It has improved dramatically thanks to organisations like Sahia, but also people living with HIV kind of advocating for themselves.
It's incredibly important that we still continue to talk about HIV, even though it's not a death sentence like it was in the 80s and 90s. It's still quite prevalent, it's still a taboo, there's still a prejudice, and we have seen it increase in cases, predominantly in heterosexual people.
Yes, I test, because I know it's the only way to be certain.
In fact, it's estimated almost 5,000 people in the UK are unknowingly HIV positive. And that's why a campaign's been launched to get more people to get tested. A test that can even be done at home, with the Prime Minister becoming the first G7 leader to do it publicly.
So, you would say, right?
One person who did test at home was Ellie. She found out she was HIV positive when she was 21, 7 years ago.
I think the stigma is really, really still bad. I don't think that's progressed at all since the 80s. A lot of people still believe it's a gay disease. HIV does not discriminate. It doesn't care about your gender, your race, your sexuality. It can affect anyone. And a lot of people are still quite scared to test or don't think they need to test because they aren't at risk of catching HIV.
Advances in treatment mean HIV is not the death sentence it used to be. The message today is don't be afraid to get tested. Mel Barham, ITV News, Liverpool.
Time now for a look at the ITV Evening News. After us, here's Mary with more on our top story tonight.
Coming up at 6:30, the parents of 2 girls killed in the Southport attacks pay tribute to their daughters and call for accountability in their first TV interview. A father is jailed for 15 years for the murder of his 14-year-old daughter in Darlington last summer. And the couple who never gave up hope, now reunited with their dog, which was stolen more than 7 years ago. You do join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
I love reunion stories.
I know, and I love a happy story.
Yeah, lovely.
Unlike in football.
Indeed. Well, if you're a Liverpool fan, right? Time for sport now, and there was one notable shock in the FA Cup at the weekend. Hey, Mike.
Yeah, guys, nobody saw this one coming, did they? Liverpool, the form team in English football, in European football, beaten by the Championship's bottom club, Plymouth Argyle. Will Arne Slot be regretting the 10 changes he made to his team? It certainly cost him. Liverpool beaten 1-0, a result which he admits will hurt.
I think it hurts everyone that's involved in Liverpool, fans, me, players. We were all wanting to be in this competition for as long as possible, and if you go out in the first possible game, that's a setback.
Well, just 4 North West clubs will be in tonight's 5th round draw. Burnley are one of them, thanks to Marcus Edwards. He scored on his debut as the Championship side knocked out Premier League Southampton. They beat them 1-0 at St Mary's. Preston North End won a penalty shootout against Wigan Wanderers. Goalkeeper Freddie Woodman, the hero, saving 2 spot kicks to send them through. Manchester City had to fight back from a goal down at Leyton Orient before winning by 2-1, while on Friday night Manchester United went through. They beat Leicester 2-1 thanks to a late and controversial winner from Harry Maguire, who appeared to be offside. To the Football League, and a memorable first home match for New Bolton boss Steven Schumacher. His side trailed 3-1 in the League One clash with Crawley Town before scoring 3 goals in the last 20 minutes to win 4-3. Stockport County made it 5 victories in a row. They beat Barnsley by 2-1 at Edgeley Park. Elsewhere, Salford City are in the League Two playoff places thanks to their 2-0 result at home to Tranmere Rovers. Other winners included Fleetwood Town, who continue to climb the table after a 2-0 win against Cheltenham, and also Barrow, who were 3-0 winners against Gillingham. Cian Spence with the pick of the goals.
Getting that winning feeling. FOW, sponsors of the Granada Sport Report.
Now to Rugby League, and this week sees the return of Super League, with champions Wigan once again the team to beat after last year's Grand Slam. But how will they maintain that dominance in a year when their campaign takes them across the Atlantic? Chris Hall has been finding out.
In 2024, the Warriors were simply unstoppable. The World Club Challenge, the Challenge Cup, the League Leaders' Shield and the Super League trophy, all in cherry and white ribbons, which begs one question. How do you improve on perfection?
We just try and improve. We're far from perfect. It looks perfect at the end of the year when you've got the trophies, but you know we had plenty of bumps in the road and we had quite a bit of good fortune as well, so it won't last forever. You know, we're going to lose games, but we're going to enjoy it.
An eventful off-season for you. What's it like being a dad for the third time now?
Yeah, stressful. Coming back into training has been a little bit of a break, I'll be very honest though.
Have you looked at other teams, other dominant teams, to look at how they've maintained their dominance over the years?
The only thing I can think is when we went into the grand final last year, we also obviously had Sir Alex Ferguson there for us, and he had some special words for us to say there, and remembering the small moments in games where you had to go through the tough times and things didn't always go quite your way, and how you build off the back of them, and not just about the trophies you win.
Not content with being the first team in Rugby League's summer era to win all 4 trophies, Wigan then took on all comers to become Sports Personalities Team of the Year.
It's brilliant. I know it's a great thing for the club, but more importantly for the game of rugby league up here in Northern England. It's starting to get the game out there a bit, getting it to grow. It's great to be recognised against all the other sports. It's really good for the sport in general.
Growing the game this year means leading Super League stateside, with their match against Warrington Wolves being held at the Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas next month.
Rugby League's the best sport of all, so I can't wait for the Americans that have never seen it to see it, and hopefully we'll get a couple of them buy into our sport as well.
You've already been out there, you've done a bit of a recce. What did you learn and what was that trip like? It looked amazing.
Yeah, what a place Vegas is. It's, you know, the city that doesn't sleep, and it was great to go out there and get a little bit of the surroundings that we're going to be in the stadium where we're going to play. Seeing the capacity that it holds, the atmosphere that it had, these nightclubs within the stadium, it's a massive, massive...
Will you be going to any of those?
Maybe if we win.
But before they can cheer Viva Las Warriors, they must look closer to home. Neighbours Lee Leopards, the first of many, aiming to stop the Slammers. Chris Hall, ITV News, Wigan.
Yeah, Wigan against Lee, who we featured on the programme last week, is on Thursday night. By then it'll be 121 days since Wigan won the grand final, so it's been a long wait for rugby league fans to see some action again.
Absolutely, I bet everyone can't wait. Thanks so much, mate.
Big season ahead.
We've got a lovely heartwarming story to end this evening with. Martin Finn from Atherton near Wigan is severely autistic and non-verbal.
Yeah, but that hasn't stopped him from being the star in a new music video with the famous duo of Foster and Allen.
And this morning, the Irish singers who've sold 25 million albums worldwide made a special trip to visit Martin, as Paul Crone reports.
It's not every day musical legends Foster and Allen fly over from Ireland to pop in for a brew at Atherton near Lee. But if you're Martin Finn and taking centre stage in their latest music video, it's the least the boys can do.
Some finding in the face of their children, some finding in the lover's eyes.
33-year-old Martin is severely autistic and non-verbal, but his passion for singing is clear, and to highlight those who may struggle with social interaction, Foster and Allen gladly got involved.
It's unbelievable, like, you know, and the fact that, you know, that he did such a job, great job singing it, it's going to make people look at his ability and not his his handicap, you know.
Everybody has something special they can do, and Martin most definitely has with the voice. I couldn't believe when they said, you know, you record a song, send it over to him and he will learn it exactly as it is, and that's what he did.
You find it in a deepest friendship.
Flying Without Wings was recorded in Ireland over 2 days, and the idea, inspired by Manchester DJ John Lowry, has met with universal approval.
Foster and Allen, you know, they just said, give this young man a chance.
Yeah.
You know, he can't speak, he's severely autistic. So, I mean, you got to hold your hands up and say, there, amazing.
Well, we're very proud, and it's wonderful, really, that he's, you know, been able to.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, it's definitely,
yeah.
it's a marvellous achievement.
When you know how much that means, and you found that special thing, you're flying without wings.
I always said that the highlight of my career would have been Top of the Pops, you know, but I think this is going to tumble it a bit, you know.
They're ignored and they probably feel that they're not capable of doing anything. So it's a matter of tapping into, discovering what the talents.
The duo of Foster and Allen are happy for it to be Foster, Allen and Finn. Paul Crone, ITV News.
And flying without wings.
Oh, isn't he fantastic? What a talent that Martin has.
Lovely stuff. Here's Emma with the weather.
Why do I need a shower? I've been out in the rain.
The faster you go, the sooner you'll be out. You'll save water too.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Hello there, hope you've had a great Monday and a super start to the week. Looks like it's going to be a cold one, but nothing like as raw and bitter as the beast from the east was in March 2018. But still, chilly easterlies mean it's going to be cold, often cloudy. There will be some bright spells around, and that's the good news. The northwest of England and the Isle of Man are more favoured for bright spells than other parts of the country. And also there'll be a few patchy showers around, but most of those are pushing up against the Pennines. Overnight tonight there could be a covering over the very highest ground, but largely dry across the rest of our patch. So high pressure up to the northeast is exerting its influence. It's pretty intense. It just repositions more to the north of us over the next 24 hours, and that's when the winds are going to be liveliest. So still breezy after that, but nothing like as brisk a breeze as there will be overnight tonight and into tomorrow. So taking a closer look, you can see lots of cloud around tonight. Where there are any breaks, well, that's where you might find a touch of frost forming, but otherwise it's probably too breezy for frost to be widespread. Quite gusty across the Isle of Man and at these Irish sea coasts and over the tops of the Pennines. Like I say, could be a couple of centimetres of dusting of light snow, which shouldn't cause any disruption just over the higher ground of the Pennines there. Into Tuesday then, the sun's up about 20 to 8 in the morning, sets about 5:10 in the afternoon. And tomorrow, well, the shower risk decreases as the day wears on, as the high intensifies a little bit, squeezing precipitation out of the air. It is going to be pretty cloudy. Those temperatures just below average for the time of year. Still breezy, but less so than it was today. And then overnight, there are the risk of some mist and hill fog, as there will be tonight over higher ground, but turning drier for the outlook period. That's it for now. Bye-bye.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
It's been really bitter out there today, hasn't it?
Absolutely Baltic. That is it for tonight's programme. We are back later after 10 o'clock.
Yeah, hope you can join us. But from all of us here, have a very lovely evening and thanks so much for watching. Good night.
Bye-bye.